What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. You already know. If you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share the video. By popular demand, I couldn't wait much longer, man. I had to bring Leon for a part 2 right away. A lot of people want to hear from this brother. Like I said before when we were on the video, you can tell, man, he's been through the mud. He's been through it all the stuff that you hear about in prison. He lived that life, man, from the shoe to having to be violent to finally getting out of prison and getting his life turned around. So, Lee, man, I'm bringing you back. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Chad, man? Hey, I'm glad you brought me back on so I could share a few positive things with you, man. I got nothing but positive feedback, not just in the comments, but, in my life, man. People are using, our interview exactly like I hope they would, man. For example, I was told that while we was doing the interview, when you finally came out and the very first time it ran, they put it on live at a chemical dependency group, and it had great reviews from the clients and from the the person running the meeting and stuff too, man. And also, I was asked if they could use it for a meeting they're gonna have on one of the reservations up here to address gang and youth violence. So yeah, man, it's really, I'm glad something good is coming out of it. That's all I wanted to do, man. That's the only reason why I came on here, man. And I'm glad that it's doing that, man.
That's what's up, man. You didn't even tell me that. I just now found that out from you right now when everyone else is finding out. But I'm glad, bro, because, a lot of people don't understand, dude, like the whole Native American thing and, the reservations and, and this isn't a knock on Native Americans or anything, but I've seen a lot of documentaries. I've been friends with natives in prison, right? And a lot of them brothers are growing up, man, poor, and they're struggling on them reservations, right?
Yeah. A lot of reservations are poverty stricken. There ain't much jobs, high drug and alcohol usage rate, violence, off the scales, everything, man. It's just all bad, man.
I was shocked, right, when I was in prison. I had a different perception of Native Americans. I'm from Western New York, where, there was a lot of Indians here, Iroquois, things like that. And I was shocked at how many young brothers come to prison off the reservations, and almost every single one of them that I met was somehow affiliated in something. A lot of them were Crips. So tell us a little bit about that reservation and why you think that people turn to alcohol and drugs on that reservation, bro.
The reason I think is just, man, there's like I said, there's not enough opportunities for us. A lot of the land that was given to us by the federal government is, they didn't want to give us any of the good stuff. So a lot of them is out in the middle of nowhere, and there ain't really much going on there. So there ain't really much opportunities for jobs. Like, we got the casinos, people think that, natives got casinos are rich. Like, absolutely not. Some of them prosper because of their location. They're close to big cities or something like that. But for the most part, man, we're out in the middle of nowhere, man, and they ain't really pumping out all that much money. You know what I'm saying? And there's housing crises, man. A lot of people use methamphetamine in some of these houses, and once they do that, that shit soaks right into the walls. So then after that house is condemned. So there's not many places to live. There's not many jobs available, man. That's how we, cope. Cause I can't say they, is me. Cause I did the same thing, like I said in the last video, I turned to drugs once I went to prison to cope and to try and numb myself, whenever I was faced with stressful situations.
Being that you mentioned that, I want to go back to the shoe a little bit. We're going to talk about some other things in prison, but you were in the shoe. You were in the SMOOD program, the shoe. You were locked in a cell. For those that don't know what that is, 23 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some of them got their own showers in there, but other times you can come out 3 times a week if the cops feel like giving you a shower. How did you cope living like that for so long?
Man, I just worked out like crazy, man. I worked out like 3-4 times a day in there, man. That's why you see all my pictures, man. I was always in shape. It was I worked out because that could have been the difference between life and death in there. But at the same time, it helped me. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes with my mental issues, I wasn't able to sleep, all the time, and exercise would help me there. But yeah, I did a lot of reading, a lot of reading. I'm very well read, a lot of reading, and a lot of working out, man. And you know, last time you showed a couple drawings on the side, man, in that video. Appreciate that. I got into that too. You just gotta find anything to kill time up in there, man.
You talked about your mental health issues, right? Were those before prison, or was that because of the murder, or was it just something that you had? I want to know more about that.
That happened during my prison bid. Um, just being around all the violence, having to be on high alert 24/7, just not being able to trust anybody because like there's brotherhood and camaraderie in there, but at the same time, like you mentioned before, 90% of Crips hit Crips, kill Crips. 90% of Bloods hit Bloods, kill Bloods, and it's the same thing with us, the natives. You know what I'm saying?
I
90%
talk,
of natives are hitting or killing natives in there, man. So you really can't trust nobody. So you're always on high alert, and that starts to take a toll on you. And all of a sudden, when you're coming out to the free world, it ain't like you could just turn that off and on like a light switch. You know what I mean? It's a really hard transition, man.
so when you were in there, you talked a little bit about the violence natives, on natives. I've seen a lot of that, but that's like you said, it's in every car. And honestly, I've seen the natives, man, do vicious, vicious things to their own people. Same thing with white dudes. I've seen the white dudes just viciously just demolish their own people. And people have asked me, and I said, those are the two most dangerous groups against each other. And people would think, well, no, it's got to be the blacks because there's more blacks. But that's not really the truth. Really, it's the natives and the whites that just demolish their own people, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they prey on their own, man. With white dudes, since I'm able to look at it from the outside looking in, I see it with mostly the white gangs. Like they they promote that white this and white that, but at the end of the day, they victimize their own people, man. You know what I mean? From what I've seen, and as far as the natives, it just seems like everyone's just so full of hate and anger in there that they just want to take it out on somebody. So they got there's a lot of dudes in there that is just about, I call them drama queens, man. They're just always trying to stir shit up, looking for any reason to get someone hit or to fucking hit somebody, you know what I'm saying? Just to do harm to somebody, man. And yeah, I agree with you. Natives, whites, they definitely are vicious on each other, man.
Let me ask you this, right? Because you talked about the violence affected you mentally. Before you went to prison, were you messed up mentally?
I was involved in a lot of violence and stuff like that, because I was from a gang banging era, the 90s. And also I was locked up a lot. But I don't remember having the problems like I have now before, but I believe it all stemmed from prison, man.
What's one of the worst, no matter if it's natives, whites, blacks, bloods, crips, what's one of the most vicious, violent things you've ever seen when you were in prison?
Oh man, in Hazleton, man, I hadn't been there too long, and there was a bunch of dudes drinking and shooting dice. It was a bunch of DC dudes and some Jamaicans or Haitians or something like that. And I don't know, they started arguing about money somehow, and before you know it, the knives come out. And DC dudes are deep over in Hazleton. So they ended up getting this dude into a room. Um it was 5-on-1. They all had weapons. They start stabbing dude, you know what I mean? And he had a weapon too. He had a knife too. He ended up fighting his way up out of that cell. Um they fought all the way up the stairs. Um all the way on the top tier. They tried to throw him off the range. You know what I mean? He had one arm around the bar trying to hold himself up, and he's reaching back with his other one, still stabbing. You know what I mean? Just nonstop trying to stab those dudes to get off him like a damn sewing machine, man. You know? And yeah, it was 5-on-1. They was at the end. There was just two of them left because one by one, dudes started heading out trying to stash their knives and change their clothes and shit like that. It was just two of them, and they just clinch on each other. They was giving it and taking it just as good, man. Just nailing each other in the neck. Then they, back up. They square up again, and man, they'd be slinging at each other, blood flying, squirting all the way, hitting the ceiling, man. The walls, the ceiling too, man. And that dude, he fought for his life, man. I gotta give him credit. Anyone that was there, seen that dude. He left in bad shape, but he damn sure left with his dignity, man. He got busy, man. I had to give him, my fucking respect because he if he didn't go hard like that, he probably wouldn't have lived.
Lee, you lived that USP life, and last week I did a video, or 2 weeks ago, I did a video on the top 5 most dangerous, groups in prison, right? And some dudes chimed in like, man, what are you talking about? The DC dudes are the most and I said, look, man, the DC dudes, they might be dangerous, but they don't go around and just like, they're not going to go kill one of their dudes because he owes a drug debt like the SAC dudes did. You know what I mean? So I'm like, look, really the DC thing, it's a car. It's not really a gang, but cars and gangs are pretty much the same thing. I'm sure we can agree to that. But do you agree with that the DC dudes weren't in the top 5, but that's not because they're not, dangerous dudes. But I didn't put them in there because they weren't the most brutal, because they don't just go around brutalizing each other.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. There's so many of them, so they got, what I mean? So they got a lot more opportunity for shit to happen just because there's so many of them. But yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Do they get busy? No question about it. But you know what I mean? Like, if it is a competition, yeah, I probably wouldn't put them in the top 5.
And the reason I didn't do that is because, like you said, there's so many of them. This is the part that the people probably didn't catch. They don't have a lot of problems because a lot of dudes try to avoid problems with them because they have so many people. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no question.
Who do you think's the most dangerous gang in federal prison?
Man, that's hard, man. The ones I seen,
I said the Mexican Mafia and the Serenos.
Yeah, they get down. The ones that I see that I had the most, I'd say probably respect for, and that I seen like were the most militant. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that I really respected about them is they didn't allow their people to even use drugs. I'd have to say the NF and the Norteños, man. They're real militant, real structured, man. They run their shit tight, and that's because, they're fewer and that's their enemies, the MA and the Sureños. So they have to, they have to be on their shit. But I'd say them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really know, but I'd probably say them.
I didn't really even put them in the top 5 because I wasn't in a lot of prisons with them. I was in USP Lee, and they had hit a bulldog kid over there, this kid named Herman, and they stabbed the shit out of him. But that was the only incident I ever seen with them. But like you said, they're very militant. There was only like 9 or 10 of them on the yard, maybe 15 at the most. But I'm going to take you back to Hazleton because I want to know if you were there when this kid was there. There was a kid in Hazleton that was a Southsider. He was a Sereno, but he was a native. And his name was Clumsy. He had tattoos all over his face. And they stabbed him in Hazleton. They almost killed him over there. Were you there when that happened?
I believe I was. That story actually could pertain to a couple of dudes. Did he transfer from Florence and he wasn't on the yard too long? Or was he there for a while?
That I'm not sure. I know I had ran into him in transit. I was in Atlanta with him, man, and I think he was going back to court after he had been stabbed. So I'm not sure what happened to him, but he was a Southsider. His name was Clumsy. And honestly, dude, he was in a cell with me for one night. And he was, dude, he had to been hit at least 50 or 60 times, and he lived. But and I thought he was Mexican, but when I was talking to him, he's like, "No, man, I'm a native." And they called him Clumsy, tattoos all over his face. And he was massacred in Hazleton, and he made it out. I don't know how.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened a couple times, man, with that. And one time it almost got us into a real dangerous situation because one time a native dude came out the bus. So right away, the bros hit him up. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from forget where he's from. I think he was from like Montana or something." He's like, "Yeah, I'm from Montana." And so the bros welcomed him in, and they even, he just got off the bus, you know what I'm saying? But they were sitting there getting drunk with him his first day on the yard, partying around with him. And the next morning, the day after the bus showed up, next morning, everyone's waking up first thing in the morning. Like 3-4 Sureños come creeping to the unit and all of a sudden just start stabbing his ass. And we was like, "What the fuck, man?" And we heard about it. So, they had a black hand on the yard over there. So he worked in the inside rec. So we all got together, was at, wondering why the fuck they did that or what was going on. So we went in there. He had all his security, out there, you know what I'm saying? And we pulled up, of course, we, dealing with people like that, we was strapped up to the teeth, man. And like we had his security surrounded, and we went up in on him, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of bros were real nervous about that. But I just, I told him, I was like, "Hey, you know what I'm saying? We gotta figure out what the fuck's going on. We can't just allow our people to be getting fucking butchered like that." And then come to find out, he was a Sureño and he had fucked up in Florence, and they knew he was coming and shit. But yeah, it almost got us into a really fucked up situation, man.
Those things happen sometimes in federal prison, right?
Yeah, no question.
So let's talk about some other things. I want to talk more about your mental health situation, right? Because honestly,
Right.
and this ain't to belittle you or anything, I think you're a pretty cool dude. I respect you. I like talking to you. You make me laugh. I just think you're an all right dude. But I can see that
Hey,
prison
man.
affected you, man. Are there times when you can't sleep at night?
Um, well, I just recently started actually addressing my mental health issues. So I'm a lot better right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on some medication now. I recently started it, and that helps me sleep a lot. But in the past, it used to be like a lot of flashbacks. Sometimes nightmares. You know what I mean? Yeah, of course. Getting in those crowds. That's usually when the flashbacks will start. I thank God I got a girlfriend that she knows what's up, and she helps me through those times because she could sense it. We know each other so good. She knows what time it is, and she knows when I just need to get away, and she helps me out a lot, man. So I got to give her credit, man. But yeah, definitely, man. Being in that situation, it's hard for it not to take a toll on you, man.
Believe in PTSD? Do you think you got PTSD from that?
I have no doubt about it, man. I do.
You talked about your dreams. Sometimes you got bad dreams. Is it you stabbing people? Someone trying to stab you? Do you have flashbacks of things that you've seen that didn't even involve you?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I have dreams that people are coming to kill me and shit, man. That people are coming to stab me and shit, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a while since I had a dream about prison, but yeah, I used to dream about that. People on the yard, and I'm getting wind, or not even no one's telling me, but I could just see the way people are moving, and I'm like, "Oh man, they're coming to make their move right now." And yeah, man, it affected me, man, because like I said, you gotta stay in that mode 24/7, 365, year on end, man. You could never, ever, ever let your guard down, man. You're just constantly wound up tight, man. So, it makes you paranoid, and you can't just turn that shit on and off once you're released, man. It sticks with you.
I know what you're saying. I've been through it. I came home, and I'll be honest. I think I might have talked about this before. I don't know if on my channel or maybe an interview with other people. But for 4 or 5 months, I used to sleep with a knife in my hand. Man, I bought some really good knives, and I used to sleep with one right there on the little table, and then I would sleep with one actually in my hand. As crazy as that might sound, and I was nervous, man. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was afraid to be alone at night in my own house, and I lived out in the suburbs in a nice little area in a townhouse, and honestly, man, I was affected. I didn't know I was affected until I got out of prison.
Yeah, I knew that it was taking its toll on me because like when I first went to prison, you know what I mean? I'd see someone getting stabbed, man, and the first thing I'd do is I'd have compassion. I'd be like, man, I wonder what that dude's thinking, man. I wonder what he's going through, man. I wonder what's going through his mind, if someone's getting stabbed up by 3 or 4 people, or you know what I mean? Like, and then by the time I got out, I'd see someone getting stabbed, and the only thing I'd be thinking about was, oh man, I gotta go warm up my food. I gotta go get a soda, man. I gotta go get some coffee. You know what I'm saying? It numbs you. You know what I mean? Because that's a coping mechanism, man.
Do you think that prison helps you form what we call a black heart? Did you form a black heart where you didn't, when you talked about you had compassion? Because I know in the beginning I did the same thing. I'd be like, damn, man, I used to feel bad for people. And then finally it just became part of the routine. Oh, shit, we're about to get locked down. I better get something to eat. And I really didn't even think about the guy that was just victimized.
Yep.
Crazy, man. We lived a crazy life in there, man. You know what I mean? And sometimes when we get on these shows or we see videos, people are like, hey, man, some people glamorize it because that's what they think, people want to see. We talk about violence on this show because it's the life that me and you and many others, we really lived it, man. It's not something we just talk about.
Facts, man. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't nothing to glamorize. There's nothing glamorous about it, man. Like, that was the most miserable time of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why
Let me stop you. I got to stop you. Say that again. That was the most what?
Most miserable time of my life.
I want that to resonate. I want that to resonate on that reservation when some young man's watching this video. I want him to know that if he makes a bad choice, he's going to be living the most miserable existence he could ever think about. An existence where what? You can't sleep at night. You're worried about someone stabbing you. You're worried about who you got to stab. I always say this. The image that you project is the image that you have to protect. And in prison, tell me if you agree, in prison, the tough guys are the only guys that really make it at the end of the day, because if you let someone victimize you, and we talked about that the other day, it might be your commissary today. Tomorrow, man, they might be in your cell trying to take that thing from you, right?
Right. And people get the wrong perception about tough. You know what I mean? When we say tough, we're talking about, our mentality, maybe physically, but out here, people got the impression as the loudest dude is the toughest dude. The dude talking about how tough he is the toughest dude. Like, nah, man, if you're tough, you don't gotta go around telling people that you're tough, man. You know what I mean? People know it. You know what I mean? But yeah, you definitely gotta be hardened up in there, man, in order to survive, or else, yeah, you will be a victim in there, man.
Talking about that tough guy thing, right? How many times have you seen them dudes that are loud and boisterous that end up getting butchered in there or end up getting demolished? You're like, man, that dude was talking all that shit. He wasn't nothing.
Every single time. Anytime I see loud mouth people like that in there, I knew it was just a matter of time. The countdown was on. You know what I mean? It was like a thing. I just take a guess on how long I think he's going to last, because it's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? That shit don't get you nowhere in there. You know what I mean? Talking gets you nowhere. They both had action in there.
Let me tell you this, right? I feel the same way. And like you talked about the other day, rocking you to sleep. I'd like to try to, be silent, man. Like if I'm going to make a decision, then I'm making that decision. And I don't even want you to know that I made it, because we're just going to do it. Because if we talk about it, guess what?
I want people to think that I'm scared, that I'm soft, that I'm weak. That's what I want people to think. You know what I mean? Some of those other dudes, just because they're trying to buffalo everyone, they want people to think that they're tough, because most likely they're not. You know what I mean? So that's why they're trying to put it all out there. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. If I'm beefing with someone, I want them to be sleeping on me to think I ain't shit. Because then when I put my thing down, they ain't never going to see it coming.
Like you said the other day, you were fully prepared to go in that cell and butcher that dude. You were committed at that point. Like that was your decision and nothing was going to change it, right?
Right.
What, you know, we see all these YouTube channels and prison interviews on MSNBC and all this stuff and 60 days in. None of that stuff can compare to the way that we really lived, right? But I want the people, because they don't know this, man. They don't understand this. What goes through your mind when you're like, wow, man, these dudes are trying to disrespect me and I'm going to have to do this and I'm going to do it. What are you thinking in your mind at that point?
Um, really, I'm angry. I'm angry that they're putting me in that position because I'm a respectful dude. You know what I mean? I make sure that you know I was raised in prison, so I know how to conduct myself around men. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a very respectful dude. I'm quiet. I very seldom even fuck with people outside of my own race just because I didn't even want to open up that door. You know what I mean? So whenever I'm put in that situation, I'm just angry because they're fucking up my routine because I'm just trying to do my bit, man. You know what I mean? I don't want no smoke, but I'll be the first one to admit it. But you know what I'm saying? At the same time, I'm far from a pushover. You know what I mean?
I understand. Let's talk about the yard. Let's talk a little bit about the prison yard. You ever been
All
out on the
right.
yard when things pop off and they start shooting from the gun tower?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Several times, man.
What's it like? Is your adrenaline pumping when they start, saying that Questa say Matuso and everybody get on the ground? Are you on high alert? Are you like, oh, are you looking to see what's going on? Tell the people how it feels to be on the yard when that's happening.
Oh yeah. Everyone that's been down for a while knows once the Cuesta saying El Piso, once they start hearing that shit and that gun cocking up there, man, put your back on the fence, get the fuck down, man, and you just start scanning the area. Where is it at? Once you're down long enough, though, you already see it coming before it happens. You start to be able to see that shit in advance, and then you could position yourself accordingly. You know what I mean? If you see these guys are moving funny, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get to the other side of the yard and just put your back on the fence, man, because that shit could spread, man. You know what I mean? You just want to stay the fuck out of it as much as you can.
When they start shooting and you hear that shotgun go off, does it give you like an adrenaline rush?
Fuck yeah, it does. Hell yeah, it does, man. Because what's going down, man. And like I said, you gotta be on high alert, even if it don't concern you. Just once shit gets physical, man, it could spread, man. So you just gotta stay on high alert. So yeah, as soon as you hear that, your adrenaline's rushing. You're on super high alert. You're looking at your people, your brothers. You're getting them all together, making sure everyone's straight. All that, man. Yeah, man. The shit's real up in there, especially when they start busting out that gun tower, man.
I want to ask you this. After you guys get into it with the white dudes and you go to the hole, now you're in the hole. What are you thinking? Are you like, damn, man, I might end up with a murder charge. Dude might die. Are you rubbing your forehead like, man, what did I do? Are you like, damn, maybe we shouldn't have went that hard? But just tell me how you were feeling because I want these youngsters to hear that.
Man, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was gonna get as vicious as it did, you know what I'm saying? And once I was in, I mean, once 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 it's done, it's done. You know what I mean? You can't do nothing about it. So basically, you're just bracing yourself to have to deal with these consequences because they're coming, man. You know what I mean? You just like the old saying goes, you do the crime, you gotta do the time, man. So once it's done, you just gotta brace yourself for the consequences because they're coming, and they're most likely they're gonna be some heavy fucking consequences too.
For sure. So look, we've been on here for about 30 minutes, right? And this is a part two. Positive things. Let's talk about some positive things, man. Tell me the things that you want to talk about that are positive. What did you learn from prison? What did you learn from prison?
I learned how to conduct myself in a very, very respectful manner. You know what I mean? Speaking of manners, I have very good manners. You know what I mean? And like way more than usual in there. Like people would be surprised if they actually went into prison and seen all the pleases and thank yous and excuse me's that go on in there. It is so super respectful, and people have the best manners in there, man. And yeah, that's the stuff that I try and hold on to that I learned in there. There's certain stuff that I'm trying to separate myself from that I picked up in there, but there are certain qualities and aspects that were positive that I try and hang on to, you know what I mean? And execute them out here.
What's the one thing that made you, what did you appreciate? Being in prison all that time, right? And you finally get out. Was there a thing that just clicked in you like, man, I appreciate my freedom? What made you happy when you walked out? Was it to touch a woman? Was it to eat some real food? Was it to be able to get in a bathtub? Was it, a new mattress? What did you appreciate?
It was to hug my mom. It was to hug my mom and hug my dad.
Say that again.
It was to hug my mom and dad because I put them through hell, and I seen how happy it was for them to see me finally, putting that shit in the rearview mirror, man. And that was the best feeling, man. That was the best feeling, man. I never want to put them through that shit again.
See, some dudes might be like, damn, man, I couldn't wait to get, to be with this chick or, to get something to eat. But really, man, it's about the people that mattered in your life, your mother, your father, the people that were there when everyone else wasn't there, right?
Yeah, exactly, man.
There's a bunch of kids on that reservation that are probably using drugs. And I'm not just saying it because you're a native guest. I want you to talk to them.
Man. Yeah, I feel you.
I want you to address not the Hispanics, not the whites, not the blacks. I want you to talk to the Native American 15-year-old kid that's watching this video right now. And I want you to talk to him, man. Talk to him. Act like he's your son before we close. And tell him what you want to tell him. Young man, get your life together. Tell him.
Man, what I want to say is, like, you see it in our community, what is coming, if you stay down that road, with, just looking at your surroundings around you, or else looking at all of us dudes that are running around here in and out of prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thank God I never went back. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to set that example that, I have every excuse to fail. I went in at 18. I never had a job. I never graduated high school. You know what I mean? I didn't have nothing going for me, but I'm out here and I'm succeeding, man. Like, you always got a chance, man. You know what I mean? Especially for kids, man. You're just getting started, man. This is the most important time in your life where you got to learn which roads you're going to travel, man. And, man, I pray that you make the best choice because, man, when you make the wrong one, it fucks you up. And, even though you don't give a fuck at the time, down the road, you will, man. And for real, I really don't want to see no one having to go through what I went through, man. And, that lifestyle, gang banging and the drug selling or using drugs, that's the only place it leads to, man. Like, that sounds like a broken record, but it's the facts. People say it all the time because it's true, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to make your own decisions just like I had to make my own decisions. I just hope that I could maybe sway you into the right direction, man. And if I do, even if it's just one kid, this time and this effort is worth it, man.
What you just said before we close, it all comes back to this, right? This is the moral of the story. You said something in this video that stuck with me. And, I don't think I ever said it. But now that you said it, I'm going to steal it, brother. It was the most miserable existence, the most miserable life I could ever have. There were plenty of nights when, Lee, you went to bed hungry. There were plenty of Christmases where you might have went in your cell and been like, damn, man, it's just another day. But, man, I miss my mother and my father today. And I know that they're hurting because of me, because I'm not there. I want people to think about that's what the moral of the story is today. A miserable existence. So those young natives that you were just talking to, young guys, young women, it's a miserable existence. Life on the outside is so much more better.
It is so fucked up, man. Especially when you're doing it as long as I did it, man. It's just, man, you feel damn near worthless. You're like, man, this is what my life added up to, man. Like me, I was in my 30s. I didn't have a fucking thing going for me, and every day I'm in the middle of this war zone, man. And like, man, is this all I'm ever gonna be? You know what I mean? And it's miserable, man. It makes you second guess everything, man. And you know, it finally helped me, get a clear mind and decide that, this shit ain't for me. But man, it's the most miserable shit you ever have to go through, man. This shit ain't exciting. All the violence around you and shit. Like maybe for a little kid, man, but you grow out of that shit too, and pretty soon that shit don't ain't no fucking type of entertainment, man. You just get sick of it, man. That shit is fucking bullshit in there.
No doubt, man. I'm gonna get ready to close the show, but again, Lee, man, I thank you for coming on. Like I said, man, we're gonna stay friends, man, forever. I think because I like talking to you, man. You make me laugh sometimes, and I think you're a good dude. You've been through it, man, and your story ain't just a story. It's a true story. What you lived is what you lived. What you talk about is what you really lived. It's not just, hey, let's go on here and, make up stories and entertain people. This is real life shit, man. And it affects people. And I know it affected you. I can see it. You lost out on the best years of your life, brother, and I feel bad for you, man. I know what it feels
Yeah,
like.
I'm glad I decided to do this, man, because like I said, it's having the effect that I hope it have. And not only that, it's therapeutic for me, because now that I know that these kids are seeing this, it's going to motivate me. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't got all my shit together, man. You know what I'm saying? I make mistakes. I'm human. You know what I'm saying? But this is motivating me to better myself. Plus, it's therapeutic to finally get this shit out, because you can't just talk about shit like this with anybody, man. Unless someone has been through it, then that's the only way you could talk about it. Or else everyone else thinks you're full of shit or you're exaggerating, man. And so you don't even feel comfortable bringing this shit up. Plus, it ain't nothing to really bring up, but it's therapeutic to finally get this shit out as well. And I'm just glad it's having a positive effect on my community.
And too, don't ever forget, man, I'm going to close the show, but failure's not an option. With respect, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.